Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Sunday, April the 17th. We do have, once again, another 4-game slate, so decent sized playoff slate for today. We basically have the first round of the playoffs starting. We have the other 4 games that didn't play yet. So we have all new teams playing. Atlanta, Miami, they're starting their series. Brooklyn, Boston, Chicago, Milwaukee, and the Pelicans and the Suns. So we're going to talk through these 4 games, go game by game, kind of give my early thoughts, what I do like taking a first look at this slate, on Saturday. And as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players that I like at first look on both DK and on Yahoo. But before we get started with the breakdown, as always, guys, please hit that like button down below. I do really appreciate the likes. If you're new to the channel and you have not yet, hit that subscribe button as well. I will be uploading these videos daily throughout the playoffs, pretty much covering every slate, basically until we get to like the finals and there's only like one game. Then I don't know what I'm going to do then, but until we have pretty much all the way up until the conference finals when we have 2, 3, 4 games a day, I'm going to be covering all these playoff slates. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're new here, check out the sponsor of this video, Prize Picks. So Prize Picks is a player prop based DFS site. It is very simple. You're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. And they do have pretty much their entire board posted for Sunday's games. I am recording this on Saturday, so as you can see, there's stuff up for Saturday's games. But they got a lot of stuff up for Sunday that you can take a look at. Take a look at their board, see what projections stand out to you. Again, you're just picking the over or the under if you have a lean one way or the other. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money on Prize Picks. So check them out, guys. Sign up, use code NOAH. They'll match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And as always, I will be sharing a couple of my favorite plays on Prize Picks for today. I'll upload that video later tonight, later on Saturday night, maybe a couple hours after this video gets posted. I'll have my Prize Picks video posted. So for those of you that already play on Prize Picks, if you want to know some of my favorite plays for this Sunday slate, I will share those in that video. But let's go ahead and talk through things. Let's start off with the Atlanta and Miami game. I do want to mention that this slate once again does start at 1 o'clock Eastern time, so early slate. You have each game one after the other, basically like it was Saturday. So it's pretty much the same schedule as Saturday's games. So first game of the day is going to be Atlanta and Miami. And on Atlanta, we do actually have some injury news to talk about. So Clint Capella got injured in their last game, and they already said that he's going to be out at least a week. Pretty likely that he doesn't even play in the series. So no Clint Capella, and John Collins could return. We did get word that he is now questionable. He's going to attempt to play in this game. No word yet on if John Collins is going to be on any sort of minutes limit or what kind of limitations he's going to have. I'm guessing with him being out for over a month, he's going to be on some sort of limit today. So I don't know if John Collins is really going to be playable, but it is worth noting that he can maybe return today. But yeah, Capella being out does change some things. We'll kind of talk about who benefits there. But starting off with Trae Young at the top, tough spot here for Trae Young going up against Miami. Miami's done a pretty good job at stopping Trae this season. I know Trae just hasn't been able to have much success against Miami. He did have 49 DraftKings points against them last time they played, but a lot of their games against the Heat this year have been very disappointing. Trae's only averaged 39 DraftKings points through 4 games against the Heat. I don't love the matchup, but we're in the playoffs now, and these guys are just going to have massive workloads. They're going to play huge minutes. Trae played 40 minutes in that game against Cleveland, and it's likely that he plays around 40 minutes a night during this series, because I think if Atlanta wants to win this series, they're going to need Trae to just step up and have huge games after huge games. So I think Trae's going to have a massive workload. I don't love the matchup, but on a 4-game slate, he is obviously playable. Then you got Bogdanovich at 5,600, who I think is a solid mid-range small forward option. Bogdan should play 26 to 30 minutes off the bench here. He's been really good off the bench. He's been a pretty high usage player. He's a guy that can contribute in all categories. Again, don't love the matchup, so I'm not like super high on a ton of these Atlanta guys, but I think Bogdan's fine at 5,600. Again, John Collins, if he plays, I'm guessing will be limited, so I don't know if he's going to really be viable. But if by some chance John Collins is not limited, especially with Capella out, John Collins would be a great play at 5,300 if he's not limited today. But I'm guessing he's probably going to have some sort of cap on him. And then you got Okongwu, who should step up and start at center in place of Capella. Not sure if that's going to happen. We maybe could see them start John Collins at center, but I would think Okongwu is going to be the guy that starts in place of Capella. He did start the second half in place of Capella last game. He played 29 minutes. He wasn't productive at all, though. He only had 14 DraftKings points, but so far this season when Okongwu has gotten minutes, he's been relatively productive. He's been around a fantasy point per minute player. Again, the matchup against Bam is really tough. I don't love the spot for Okongwu. I think there's a little bit of foul trouble risk guarding Bam. But at 5,100, he's a fine play. I will say that DraftKings did price him up a good amount. If Okongwu was 3,300, he'd be like a great value play. He'd be the chalkiest value play on the slate. Since he is 5,100, he's not like a standout option, but I think he is still in play just because I'm expecting him to play 25 to 30 minutes, and he's a productive player when he's out there. Danilo Gallinari, though, I like a lot. So Gallo's only 4,900, and he played 41 minutes last game. He was on pace to play huge minutes against Charlotte as well, but he did pick up 2 early fouls, 2 quick fouls in that game. Right when he subbed in for his second stint, he picked up 2 quick fouls and then went to the bench. I think they're kind of high on Gallo right now in terms of his minutes. Obviously, if John Collins comes back, that could maybe hurt Gallo a little bit. But I think Collins might be limited. Obviously, there's minutes available right now with Capella out. So, even if John Collins returns today or returns Sunday, I don't know how much that's really going to impact Gallo. I think Gallo could still start. They might bring John Collins off the bench. So, I'm pretty high on Gallo at 4,900. Obviously, if he goes back to the bench and they start John Collins, then that would kind of lower my interest in Gallo. But for now, I'm expecting Gallo to still start. I expect the minutes to still be pretty high, especially because I think Collins will be limited in his first game back. So, I do like Gallo as a value play. He's cheap on Draftkings. He's pretty cheap on Yahoo as well. This is definitely something we'll have to pay attention to. We'll need to pay attention to the Atlanta starting lineup. But as long as Gallo is still starting, I still expect him to play big minutes, even if Collins returns. So I definitely like Gallo as a value option. And then Kevin Huerter, he's been a solid value play that I've been targeting. He's been getting good minutes, 30 minutes a night. Most nights. He played 29 last game against Cleveland. He did get into some foul trouble. He did have 4 fouls in those 29 minutes, and foul trouble has kind of been an issue for Huerter in some of these games. But I think if he's not in foul trouble, he's going to play low 30s minutes. Obviously, the matchup against Miami is probably not the most ideal matchup, but at 4,700, it's really tough to find value on these playoff slates. So I definitely think Kevin Huerter at 4,700 is in play for value. I like him on both sides. He's cheap on Yahoo as well. So if you want to play him over there, $16 at shooting guard. He was a guy that did stand out to me at first look. And then if you want to go to DeAndre Hunter, I don't mind that either. He should play low to mid 30s minutes. At 4,800, I think he's priced about right, but the minutes should be there. And again, we're kind of starving for value on these playoff slates, so I'm fine going to Hunter. But that's all that I see on Atlanta. Let's move on to the other side of this game. Talk about Miami. So looking at Miami, they're a tough team. When they're fully healthy, it's hard to get excited about anyone on Miami just because where they're priced at. But I really think Miami is going to condense things here in the playoffs. I expect them to run a pretty tight rotation. I expect pretty heavy workloads for Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry. Do any of them stand out as priority plays today? I don't think so. But if I was playing multiple lineups, I would definitely sprinkle in some Jimmy, sprinkle in some Bam, especially without Capella. I think the matchup is a little bit better for Bam. Okongwu can hold his own on the defensive end. He's not a bad defender by any means, but I think Bam at 8K might be my favorite play on Miami if I had to go to anyone. Jimmy Butler at 8,400, he's a fine option as well. I just think it's hard to predict which one of these Miami guys is going to have a big game just because when they're all playing, they just kind of, no one's going to really dominate the usage on this team. It's going to be spread around for the most part. The production's going to be spread around. You got Hero coming off the bench at 6,900. I would expect him to play. I don't know why he's questionable right now. I think he sat out their last game, but that was like, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. So he should be fine at 6,900. I don't think Hero really stands out as a top play today, but obviously the upside's there if he gets hot off the bench. Lowry at 6K probably plays big minutes here, 35, 36 minutes. Next to Bam, he's probably my second favorite play on Atlanta, on Miami. So if I had to rank the Heat guys, I probably would put Bam number 1, then Lowry, then Butler, then Hero. And I don't think I'm going to anyone else on Miami. The bench guys, I'm not really targeting. I just don't think they play enough to really be viable. PJ Tucker, he's cheap, but his upside's always just so minimal. So for me on Miami, there's not any standout like core plays coming from this team, but I definitely think Jimmy, Bam, Lowry, those 3 specifically, I'm fine going to. If you want to play one of the 3, I think it's okay. Again, Bam and Lowry are probably like my 2 favorites. But let's move on to the next game. Talk about Brooklyn and Boston. So looking at Brooklyn here, you got KD and Kyrie at the top, who in a tough matchup, obviously. You worry about that a little bit, but when it comes to these guys, they're just going to have such massive roles during the postseason. We saw in that game against Cleveland in the play-in game, KD played 42 minutes. I think Kyrie played over 40 minutes as well. In order for Brooklyn to win the series, it's just going to have to be because of KD and Kyrie because Brooklyn doesn't get enough consistent production from anyone else on this team. So I expect 40-plus minutes a night from KD and Kyrie. I think where they're priced at, they are both solid pay-up options today. I still would probably prefer Giannis, who we're going to talk about later, as a pay-up option. But KD and Kyrie for me are kind of 1A, 1B behind Giannis if I had to rank the studs on this slate. And outside of the top 2, guys, I'm not loving much else on Brooklyn. Bruce Brown's had a really good role and he's played big minutes as well. I think 6,500 though is really, that's really starting to get up there for Bruce Brown. I don't expect him to continue to put up almost 50 DraftKings points a night. I think most nights Bruce Brown's going to score like 30 DraftKings points. So at 6,500, especially against Boston, I'm fine just not going to Bruce Brown. Andre Drummond, I mean, he's a guy that can be productive when he gets minutes, but you look at the minutes, I mean, 20, 18, 24, 20, 19, like they're just not playing Drummond that much right now. Maybe this is a game where they give him like 30 minutes, and if he does, Drummond can obviously crush in 30 minutes. I'm just not confident in the minutes right now, so at 6,200, Drummond doesn't really stand out to me. Obviously, Claxton has been playing more with Drummond not playing as many minutes, but 4,600, like Claxton's not really that cheap anymore. Obviously, if Claxton plays 29 minutes like he did last game, he's probably going to do well at his salary, but I'm not confident he plays 29 minutes. I think most likely it's a 24-24 split between Drummond and Claxton. And then like Seth Curry, I mean, the upside just not there. I mean, he played 34 minutes last game and he literally scored 4 DraftKings points in 34 minutes. His point per minute production with the Nets when he's playing alongside Kyrie and KD is just not that good. He really benefits when those guys are off the floor, and obviously with how Brooklyn is doing things right now, KD and Kyrie are going to be on the floor for almost the entire game. So I don't see much interest in Seth Curry. I mean, the two guys that stand out from Brooklyn are KD and Kyrie. No one else I'm loving on this team. So let's move on to the other side of this game with Boston. When it comes to Boston, I think Tatum and Brown, obviously they're playable, but on this playoff slate, like I think I'd rather go to KD, Kyrie. Going to talk about Giannis, who I like as well. Chris Paul, I think, is underpriced in the mid-range. You have Trae Young, even in a tougher matchup. Like normally Tatum and Brown are not guys I prioritize. On this slate, I don't think they're going to be standout pay-up options for me. They're just other guys I'd rather spend for. I'd rather, again, play KD and Kyrie on the other side of this game. But obviously these guys have upside. Like no one would be surprised if Tatum put up 60 today. No one would be surprised if Jaylen Brown went for 50 DraftKings points. But again, I don't think at their price tags they're standout options. Al Horford obviously should have a really big role without Robert Williams and should play pretty good minutes. But I think 6,600, that's probably an appropriate price tag for him. In order for him to really be worth his salary, he's going to have to go for like over 40 DraftKings points. And can he do that? He absolutely can. But I think 6,600 is kind of where Al Horford should be priced. Marcus Smart's a guy that I really never play just because his upside is not that high. But you would think during the playoffs, I mean, he's going to play pretty big minutes. They're going to need his defense out there against Kyrie. So 5,500 Marcus Smart, like, is just a mid-range point guard option. I'm fine going there. He probably gets you like 30 DraftKings points today, which at his salary is okay. I do kind of question the upside of Marcus Smart. Like, I think Marcus Smart's one of these guys that it's really unlikely that he puts up a score that, like, if you don't have Marcus Smart in your lineup, you're dead. So maybe in like cash games, he feels like a safe play, but for tournaments, I do kind of question the upside. And I don't think I'm going to anyone else on the bench for Boston. I mean, it's really just like Tatum, Brown, and Horford, and maybe Smart. And that's really it from the Celtics. Let's move on to the next game, Chicago and Milwaukee. So in Chicago today, you've got the big three, DeRozan, Vooch, LaVine. I think these guys kind of look appealing. Normally when they're fully healthy, when DeRozan, LaVine, Vooch are all playing, I never get excited about any of these guys. But for one, it's a 4-game slate, so we're kind of limited in our options. And for two, it's the playoffs, and I expect these guys to all play really, really big minutes. I expect DeRozan to play probably close to 40 minutes a night at 8,500. I think he's got the upside to pay off this price tag. Matchup against Milwaukee may not be ideal, but if the Bulls want to have any chance of winning this series, they're going to need DeRozan to play really well. They're going to need Vooch to play really well, LaVine to play really well. You have Vooch at 7,700. He's been very inconsistent lately. He was really struggling to end the regular season, but now, with the week off, maybe Vooch can kind of get things going. He's probably not my favorite Bull. Like, I probably definitely would put DeRozan ahead of him, and I think I'd put LaVine ahead of him as well. At LaVine's price tag, he honestly might be my favorite Chicago guy. He's only 7,500 on DK today. I think LaVine's going to play big minutes during the postseason. He's kind of been dealing with a knee injury just throughout the regular season. He's always said that, I'm not 100% right now. I know he's kind of been saying that. The coach has been saying that. But I would think with a week to rest, almost 2 weeks to rest, LaVine should be back to 100% here. I expect him to have a big role during the playoffs. I expect him to play really big minutes. He's done well against Milwaukee this season for what it's worth, average of 45 DK points through 2 games against them. So 7,500 for LaVine, probably getting 36, 38 minutes from him. He might be my favorite Bull to go to on this slate, probably then DeRozan, then Vooch, but I definitely like LaVine at his price tag. And I think on Yahoo, he's very affordable over there. If you want to play LaVine on Yahoo at small forward, he's only $30. I definitely like LaVine as a small forward option on Yahoo. And then outside of the big three from Chicago, you got like Patrick Williams, but I'm not super excited about him. Io, no. Kobe White, not really. Maybe Caruso. Caruso probably plays like 30 minutes a night during the playoffs. I would think he's going to have a pretty big role. He's also kind of been dealing with some injuries lately. But again, with the week to rest, you would think all these guys should be coming into this game 100%. So the minutes for Caruso should be solid. If you want to go there for value, I don't hate it, especially because there's not a ton of value on these playoff slates. But it's really the big three that I'm looking to on Chicago, and definitely LaVine and DeRozan are my two favorites. Now, on the other side with Milwaukee, you got Giannis at the top for 11K, who I would say is probably my favorite pay-up option, just, if I can fit him. Again, it's tough to really go stars and scrubs on these playoff slates because there's just not really any value, and the guys you're going to play for cheap, you're not going to feel great about. But we know Giannis has massive upside. He's dominated against the Bulls this year. Like, the Bulls have not been able to stop Giannis this season. He's had a bunch of big games against them. I know he recently struggled against them the last time they played, but the two previous games before that, he had 59 in only 30 minutes in a blowout. And then they played again. Previously, he had 39 minutes and 67 Draftkings points. So definitely think the matchup is good here for Giannis. I don't think anyone on Chicago is going to stop him. Obviously, in the playoffs, Giannis should play huge minutes. So Giannis is my favorite pay-up option. I think he offers the highest floor and the highest ceiling out of anyone on the slate. Like him a ton at 11K. Drew and Middleton, they're okay mid-range options, but I think there are other guys priced around them that offer more upside. Guys like Chris Paul, even the Boston guys like Tatum and Brown. I know they're a little bit more expensive, but I'd rather go there. But definitely like Chris Paul, I prefer over Middleton and Holiday. Probably like CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. I think I'd prefer those guys as well. I just never get excited about Middleton and Drew when Giannis is healthy, just because these guys are so inconsistent when they're playing with when they're playing with Giannis. Like Middleton, he'll have big games and then he'll have some stinkers. He's just a tough guy to gauge, and at 8,100, he doesn't really stand out to me. Drew, I would probably prefer if I had to play one of the two between Drew and Middleton. I probably would rather go to Drew. But again, I don't love either one of these guys. Portis, no thanks. Brook Lopez, I mean, he's cheap, but he just hasn't shown a ton of upside this year. I mean, he did have a huge game against the Bulls last time they played. But outside of that game, I mean, Brook Lopez has been around 25 DraftKings points a night. So I do really question the upside on Brook Lopez. Maybe during the playoffs, you see his minutes get up a little bit more. But I'm not super high on him. It's just not much here that stands out outside of Giannis. Giannis is obviously the priority play coming from Chicago or from Milwaukee today. And then the last game, the Pelicans and the Suns. So this is kind of the game that I'm a little worried about, just because I think there is some blowout risk here. I think right now Phoenix is favored by like 10.5 at home. If there's any series that you could probably see like a sweep happening, I mean, you would think Phoenix might sweep the Pelicans here. But the Pelicans have been playing well. They played well in that game against the Clippers. They turned things on the second half, were able to come out victorious. I think the Pelicans are going to be able to at least keep these games close. I don't think it's just going to be like a blowout every night, even though it's a 10-point spread. So I expect CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram to play big minutes if it's a close game. CJ McCollum at 8,300. Again, I think it's a solid mid-range option. He obviously was kind of disappointing last game against the Clippers, but he shot the ball really poorly. Just couldn't get things going. We know McCollum's going to have a really big role in the playoffs. He's going to play huge minutes. In those play-in games, he played 39 and 42 minutes, so the minutes were really high for him. I expect the same here in round one of the playoffs. I don't love the matchup against Phoenix, but the minutes alone are going to make McCollum viable. Same for Brandon Ingram. Ingram was very solid last game, played 43 minutes, had 45 DraftKings points. I don't know if we get like 43 minutes from Brandon Ingram, but I think we get 38, 39. So at 7,800, like I'm fine with Ingram as like a mid-range option. And then J-Val. J-Val is someone I like quite a bit. So J-Val was obviously very disappointing last slate. I played J-Val last slate. I'm sure a lot of you did as well. He basically got benched in that game. I mean, he did play a little bit in the second half, but the Clippers pretty much went small, which forced the Pelicans to bring J-Val off the floor. And we saw Larry Nance play a lot of minutes. So I'm not looking too much in the last game. I think that was just kind of a matchup thing. Going up against Phoenix, a team that usually plays pretty big, they're going to have DeAndre Ayton or JaVale McGee or maybe Bismack Biyombo on the floor at all times for the most part. We know if it's a close game that Ayton's going to be out there. And you can't really go small against Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix, they're a team that doesn't normally play small. They're going to have Ayton on the floor in close games. So I expect the minutes to get back up there for J-Val. I think we're going to see him get back to like 34, 35, 36 minutes today. The price tag came way down. This is definitely a spot. I think it's a good buy low spot on J-Val. I'll be interested to see like what his projected ownership is. I have a feeling he's going to be pretty popular just because, with how DFS is at this point, like people aren't dumb enough to just look at game log and fade someone. Like everyone knows that J-Val, it was just a fluke for J-Val to play 25 minutes last game. It was just due to matchup. I think this is a game where you expect his minutes to go back up. And if J-Val plays 35, 36 minutes today, 7,300 is way too cheap for him because we know J-Val is a good point per minute player. He's a high usage guy. He's going to contribute when he's out there. I like him quite a bit at 7,300. He's definitely one of my favorite options on this slate, especially at the center position. And then on Yahoo, I like him a lot over there. I think he's too cheap on Yahoo, only $26. Really like J-Val today, for sure my favorite Pelican. That's probably it, though, from the Pelicans. I don't see anything else here I'm in love with outside of, Ingram, McCollum, and J-Val. Obviously, Larry Nance had a huge game last game, but I think that just had to do with the Clippers playing small ball, which forced the Pelicans to go small. So Larry Nance was getting a lot of minutes at the 5. He was really productive. I don't expect that to be the case today. I think they're going to go back to playing J-Val big minutes, which obviously means not as many minutes for Larry Nance. So I'm not going to chase that game. Herb Jones, I guess I'll mention as a value play just because he's gonna play pretty big minutes here. 35, 36 minutes. They need his defense out there. He's not a super productive point per minute player. He's a very low usage player. When Herb Jones has big games, it's usually because he picks up a lot of blocks and steals. He'll grab some rebounds, so maybe hit a few threes. At 4,600, he's an okay value, but he's not a guy that I'm like running to roster. And if he's gonna be chalky, like that's a guy that I'm okay fading. But did want to mention him just because I think he is playable. But that's all I'm seeing on the Pelicans. Now looking at the Phoenix side, you got Devin Booker at 9K. I'm fine with Devin Booker on this slate. Not my favorite pay-up option by any means. Like, obviously, I'd rather get to Giannis. I'd rather get to KD. I'd rather get to Kyrie. But Devin Booker's going to have a big role in the postseason. We know that. He's going to play huge minutes, probably close to 40 minutes a night. I think 9K is an appropriate price tag for him. But definitely Chris Paul is the guy that stands out. Chris Paul at 7,600 just feels way too cheap today. I like him a ton on Draftkings. He's not as cheap on Yahoo. He's $36 over there. But I still think Chris Paul is a solid option on Yahoo too. I mean, during the playoffs, I expect Chris Paul to have a big role. Obviously, towards the end of the regular season, they weren't pushing Chris Paul too much. They didn't really have to. But now in the playoffs, Paul should be good to play big minutes. He was great during the playoffs last year. I think that we're going to see the same this year. I think he's going to play 35, 36 minutes a night. We obviously know Chris Paul is a very productive player when he's on the floor. He can score. He's going to rack up a ton of assists. He can get rebounds as well. The minutes should be really good as long as this game stays close. I feel very confident that Chris Paul is going to be able to exceed value on the $7,600 price tag. I mean, with Chris Paul's role that he's going to have in the playoffs, he should be close to 9K. Like, he should be priced right up there with Devin Booker. The fact that you're getting such a big discount definitely makes Chris Paul stand out on the slate. So I like him a ton. He's definitely my favorite play on Phoenix. Ayton at 7K. Okay, but I'd rather go to like J-Val on the other side of this game. I think J-Val just offers more upside. Mikal Bridges, kind of another guy very similar to Herbert Jones. Not a super high usage player, but he's going to be out there for a ton of minutes. Like, he's going to play a ton of minutes. At 5,200, this price tag's kind of cheap on Mikal Bridges. He's going to play huge minutes. That alone makes him a viable option, but I do question the upside on a guy like Mikal Bridges. And that's really it from Phoenix. I mean, definitely it's Booker, Chris Paul, Booker, Paul, Ayton that stand out the most here. If you want to go to Bridges, I don't hate that. But Chris Paul is for sure my favorite play on Phoenix. I just think that price tag on DK is way too cheap. So that's what I'm liking on Phoenix, and that's what I'm liking for these 4 Sunday games. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. I hope it helped. If you enjoyed, hit that like button down below. If you have not yet, hit that subscribe button as well. Go check out PrizePicks again, the sponsor of the video. If you want to sign up for PrizePicks, make sure to use promo code NOAH. They'll match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And you can take a look at PrizePicks board for Sunday's games. You can see all the props they have listed. Make some picks for yourself. Take a look at their board. Make your decisions over or under if you have a lean one way or the other. But again, sign up for PrizePicks. Use code NOAH. When you do, get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But that's all that I got for today's slate, guys. I appreciate you watching the video. I hope you did enjoy. I wish you the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.